Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store for such products like the Blue Yeti microphone, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo, this is 3 Buck Theater, and this is my review, my what I think, of Netflix's new $90 million action-adventure, action comedy, Lord of the Rings inspired movie, Bright. This movie has been on my radar for quite some time. I saw the first trailer for it a while back, read the outline for it, saw that it was Will Smith, saw that it was Joel Edgerton, saw that it was David Ayer directing, based on a script by Max Landis, and I'm like, ooh, this has a lot of elements that I really, really like. I happen to be a fan of David Ayer's work, and I will admit, I liked Suicide Squad, flaws and all, and I like his other stuff, like Fury was excellent, End of Watch was fantastic. You know, the dude can make good movies. But this one, when it came out, or at least when it was being reviewed, was being torn to shreds, right? And I was really trying to figure it out, but a lot of what I was reading had more to do with the opening, production company on the film that was titled Trigger Warning Entertainment. I'm like, oh, right, left-leaning SJW movie bloggers are going to be seeing that and going, I'm so triggered right now. But the general gist of the story is that in an alternate reality, you could call it that, LA is where the story is set at current time, but you've got elves, orcs, and fairies, and centaurs, and a lot of mythical creatures that are populating the city, and Will Smith plays Officer Ward, who is partnered up with the very first orc to join the force, Officer Jacoby, played by Joel Edgerton, and Will Smith does not want him there. They look at him as a diversity hire. I mean, look, the best way to describe this movie, essentially, is that it's kind of like J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings meets Colors. Good way to look at it, right? But it fits, and they really touch on the concept of racism and everything else. Although it was interesting that it was Will Smith who was being bigoted and discriminatory without being as bad as, let's say, Ike Barinholtz's character and the other people that were also, in his squad or division, whatever it was, right? So precinct is the word. And so essentially what's going on is there is the Dark Lord is coming back. Now, we don't know anything about the Dark Lord. Period. We know nothing about him. He gets almost no exposition. You get a little bit of story elements peppered throughout the film to give you an idea about who this person might be or what kind of power he was in the past. He basically is like Sauron, right? He's like Sauron returning, essentially, and that's what's going on here. And the elves have wands, and if they get 3 wands, they can bring him back. And the one girl is played by Noomi Rapace, is looking for the wand. She is the bad guy in the film. And there's Tika, another elf who's her sister, who has the wand and is trying to keep it from her. And this is where Ward and Jacoby get brought in to they get a call, they check it out, and of course, it gets crazy, and they uncover the wand, they call it in, and this is where all of his his other friends are just like, look, kill the orc, we'll take the wand, anything we want. You want $1 million, you want $10 million, this is everything you could ever want, and we could take it right now, and the only thing that has to happen is you got to kill your partner. And that, again, is this kind of like, is he going to do it? Isn't he going to do it? Like, he's not going to do it, but they really kind of play up that kind of stuff. And as a result, Will Smith ends up taking out all 4 people and protecting his friend or his partner, protecting the girl, and in fact, keeping the wand. But this is where it gets really crazy, because you've got like the magic task force that is like the feds. They're trying to close in on the wand because they got wind that it's there. You've got other police officers that are trying to capture him because they think that they killed cops. Well, they did kill cops, so they don't know why just yet. And then you've got the Mexican gang and the orcs that are trying to take the wand for themselves. And it's a lot of I don't know if it's not identity politics essentially, but you've got a lot of just politics, race relations, disparity in social classes. The elves are the rich, powerful in Los Angeles. I mean, I think we can pretty much figure who David Ayer was saying that the elves were. Sorry, rhymes with news, like I got a bit of that vibe. But at the same time, you kind of get it. The elves are like the higher ups, the orcs are the lower class, and they're very much hated. They call them pigskin. And they have other racial names for them that are used as a way to hold them down. And of course, that's a big part of this is the racism, the relationship, and how they all kind of work together. And it felt like David Ayer was attempting to kind of recreate End of Watch, but to put it in this kind of setting. It worked, man. I freaking loved this movie. I was laughing at the jokes. I loved the action sequences. A couple plot holes here and there that I noticed. A couple little things here and there. Mostly I wanted more lore. I wanted more of the story. It felt like a D&D game where you're just not getting any of the backstory from the dungeon master. And you're just like, come on, man, like fill me in more. Like give me a companion series on Netflix to like walk me through what happened with the Dark Lord. Who is the Shield of Light? How do they work together? Where do the orcs fit in? You know, like there was a Nord wielding like a broadsword that was the one telling, you know, Jacoby in Orcish. Yeah, and it was a Nord. It was a Nord. It was a Nord. I'm telling you, that's what it was. And as a result, you know, like all the magic that was happening in the movie. It was pretty cool. Like there's like a good line where they're like they you know, they're trying to get away from everybody. They stole a car. Jacoby's like, hey man, we're in a prophecy, because there was that was said, that was one of the plot holes. It was like, you're in a prophecy, but they never lay out what the prophecy is, so we don't know what it is at this point. We don't know anything about it. You know, he's like, we're in a prophecy, and Will Smith is like, no, we're in a stolen Toyota Corolla. Like just little jokes like that I liked. It felt very much like Will Smith, who wasn't allowed to be as Will Smith as he was as Deadshot in Suicide Squad, which again was like one of my favorite performances by him, because I just remembered how much I love Will Smith and I want to see him in more things. So you've got that, and you've got Joel Edgerton as Jacoby. Did a great job trying to be an orc with 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you know, like everyone says, like clan blood. And I think at that point, the way I took that was because they were, you know, kind of like Vato gangsters, so to speak, that they were kind of like La Raza situation, right? You know, like blood in, blood out sort of thing. And he was unblooded, so he was unclanned. He you know, was never part of a clan. He wanted to be a cop his entire life. He's the first one, so they're calling him a diversity hire, and they're treating him like crap and everything else. And they always think he's the villain, because at the beginning of the movie, Will Smith gets shot by a shotgun. It doesn't kill him, but it hits his bulletproof vest, and then Jacoby ends up letting the guy go, letting the who they thought was the perpetrator go. You find out it was just some kid who was spray painting, not the right person, and he would have been charged for trying to kill a cop, right? So Jacoby did the right thing in letting him go. And Will Smith's like, why didn't you tell me? You should have told me these things. We're partners. And he's like, because you hate me, you know? And like, there was, again, this kind of back and forth about like, oh yeah, like we're really not that different overall. And there's a lot in the movie that I felt really worked well. There's a lot in the movie that really kind of like did what needed to be done in terms of telling this kind of story. And Netflix already confirmed that there's going to be a sequel, and Will Smith is set to return, which makes sense because he is a magic wielder. He can hold the wand and not evaporate. And oh, that scene was so cool too. These they drop the wand, these Vatos run in, they grab it, and they just explode, right? They just, like, the three of them just get eviscerated, because if a wand touches human flesh by a non-bright, which is about 1 in a million, humans can wield magic. Again, it's kind of like midichlorians and a Jedi, so to speak. It ends up, you know, being, it just takes them out. So there's a lot of, like, you know, hardcore violence in the movie, a lot of interesting social commentary in the movie, set to the backdrop of fictional creatures like orcs and elves. There's a scene where there's like a dragon flying over Los Angeles. I'm like, I want more. Give me more. Tell me more. Give me more of a story here. The whole thing, I thoroughly enjoyed all the way through. Very much will watch it again, and looking forward to more movies like this. However, given Max Landis' current situation with being accused of sexual assault, I don't know if he'll be brought back in to pen the sequel, but we'll have to wait and see. And I do hope David Ayer comes back and directs it, because the guy did a good job. I like his movies, and I very much want to see what happens next. So that being said, what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that Bright was a good movie? Do you think it was a horrible movie? Was it a mediocre movie? These are things I want to know. Let me know in the comments below. My name, of course, is Matt Jarbo. This has been $3 Theater. I'll talk to you guys later. And if you want to see more content from me, you can do so right now.